Okay, thank you for the introduction, and of course, thank you all for being here today. It's a real pleasure, a true pleasure. Today, like many of the speakers, I will try to express myself in a language other than my mother tongue. So please, sometime use your imagination to fully understand what I mean. It happened to me in French too. People use their imagination sometimes. So my name is Marianne Mispelaëre. I live in Aubervilliers in the suburbs of Paris. I'm not a typographer or a graphic designer, but a visual artist. Even if I have to say that a big part of my work is not visual. Invisibility, small gestures, minimal interventions, that's the vocabulary I use to express myself. That's from where I'm talking today. So to introduce my work very briefly, I could say that I consider my work as an artist actually as a work of translation. Through different projects, I do translate my active observation of what makes up a society, what it means to live side by side, what allows us to live together, what connects us to one another, like everybody talked about this morning. And I have the feeling that language has the power to do that. It can create encounters, communities, collaborations, collective memories. Or, on the other hand, it can divide, it can build structure of power and domination. Because language is a key to understand the world around me, my work is composed by signs, words, relationships, writing systems, narratives, and also silences. So my big question is, what does language do to the others, and what its users do to the language? How does language form the way we think and perceive, and how it shapes our imagination and our memories? And on the other hand, how do we, living human beings, transform language, which is as alive as we are, deeply connected to the present moment and to political and cultural context. Always moving, always changing, impossible to freeze or define. So, as the title of my presentation, I choose from one hand to another. This title suggests the idea of me working with my both hands, from my right hand to my left hand, but it also evokes the gesture of giving and receiving, exchange, transmission, and interaction. My presentation is a kind of conversation between hands, about how hands, my hands, as well as yours, can help to see and understand the world. Through drawing, writing, reading, and above all, simply by being here, doing nothing more than being present, as you will see. So let's start with writing. Autodafé is a typographic drawing generated by a writing system in reverse. You are invited here to read the void of the Latin alphabet. So you still read the same letters we know, the one we use every day to communicate. But here, those letters are invisible. The signs you see are the empty space around them. So here, for example, on the left, you can read quelque chose commence à craquer sous nos yeux, which means something begins to crack before our eyes. I use the same matrix to shape the letters, a cube with a cross inside. So here, for example, you can recognize the letter A. And for me, in my typography, the letter A is this kind of T. and this is the B, this is the C. So now that you know the trick, you can read this sentence here. It's written se figurer un événement, which means to picture an event. And here it's written les disparitions existent pour ceux qui les voient. Disappearances exist for those who see them. So Autodafé is a wall drawing made with Indian ink. I always adapt the size of the letters and the graphic design, I would say, of the sentence in regard to the wall and the space of the room. I worked on this typography in 2016 during an art residency in Berlin. Back then, I was interested in the history of the city before and during the Second War, especially the Nazi ideology. Around the same period, in 2014-2015, Daesh, the so-called Islamic State, was stealing and destroying many cultural sites and artwork in Syria. Those two events of destruction connected in my mind, and I thought, if you burn books, you burn letters. If you burn letters, what remains? The residue, the negative space. And I wondered, how can we use this negative space to read the world? I used Autodafé to write a series of 9 sentences I wrote that you can read here. Related to vision, they are all related to vision and perception. Autodafé is an invitation to see further, not just frontally, but beyond what stands before our eyes. So I wanted to show you this piece also briefly, because Autodafé lets me to imagine this in situ installation in Baltimore, USA in 2017. It is the opposite of a graffiti. Graffiti covers a wall with paint to write something. Here I remove material to make a sentence appear. I folded regular A4 sheets of paper to let the wall itself appear through them. I found it meaningful to write collateral damage is K in a wall in a public space in Baltimore, especially considering the social and political context at that time, back in January 2017. Here is a research called Library of Silences. So I'm talking about the wall installation, not the flowers. The flowers are a piece of a great artist, Kapwani Kawanga, and in this exhibition, the curator showed to bring together these two works. In this project, I bring together languages that have officially declared extinct since 1988, the year I was born. These languages, once vital means of communication and understanding, have now become silences. On the wall, their names, their date of disappearance, precise or approximate, and their geographical locations are drawn in charcoal. Here I'm going to show you 2 exhibitions of the Library of Silences, so one in Strasbourg here, and the other one in Brussels. Each time I do the research again, and the list grows up. Also, the organizations of the text change in regard to the configuration of the space. Each text is written on the wall, facing the direction where the language used to be spoken. So I use the north, south, east, west orientation of the room to organize the installation of each text. So on this wall, for example, so from Brussels, This is the direction of Southeast Asia and Australia, and then we go to Africa, and from Africa to South America, North America. This is Alaska, and this is the same text that you can see here. So it's a 360-degree piece. I'm not interested in... okay. Okay. Okay, perhaps not this one. Yeah. Okay, so let's not see this. Okay, I'm talking about disappearance, and my image disappeared too. It's very interesting. Okay, let's see this. Perhaps I will try something. Okay, it's... So I was about to say that I'm not interested in melancholia or nostalgia. Through the phenomenon... Wow, that is very... through the phenomenon of language disappearance, the Library of Silences draws a global map of system of domination. Because all these disappearances are consequences of colonialism, conquests, occupations, and trauma. But not only that. The dynamics of extreme globalization and simplification generated by our capitalist societies also contribute to this invisible disappearance, as you can see. Okay. I say invisible because nobody talks about them, about this disappearance. This disappearance silence not only words, but also specific ways of seeing, describing, and understanding the world, as well as spiritualities and identities. They are part of what we call soft power. So when a society tries to erase another one by making its cultural object invisible and silent. During the exhibition, all the texts are erased during a collective performance by people I invite who were also born in 1988, as you can see here. This performance is not announced to reproduce the same invisible phenomenon of disappearance I just mentioned. I asked the museum not to schedule a meeting, not to include the performance in the print program, and not to display the date anywhere. The collective performance of erasing transformed the perception of the piece. The texts can still be read, but the reading is less easy. It is more about perception than clear vision of all these informations. So now I would like to show you another research project I've been working on since 2016. Here, silence becomes a weapon, a way to express yourself. This research is called Silent Slogan, and it currently brings together 56 postcards. As it is an ongoing project, like the previous one, I'm still working on it. On the front side of each card, you have a black and white photograph showing a gesture, and on the back, a short text gives context of the image, all collected from the internet under Creative Commons license. Silent Slogan presents a series of collective codified gestures that have been shared from 2010 to today. In public space, so during demonstration, public gathering, or online, on internet. Easy to perform, these ordinary gestures make a powerful meaning in specific context and moment. They open the possibility of dialogue, even when the dialogue seems impossible. People don't feel heard or understood, sometimes because of a lack of technical resource, language skill, or simply because there is no one to talk to. So I don't think you can read the text I prepared, but the frustration is good because perhaps like that you can ask me to have the set of postcards. Using silence and one's own body to express something may seem poetic, but silent slogan is not an idealistic work. Within this collection, you will find gestures of empowerment and resistance, but also reactionary and hateful ones. My goal is to bring all these gestures together, gestures made collectively, to show what people believe in, what ideology they defend, how they perceive society. This work really helped me to read the present time. I'm interested in the meaning of gesture, of course, but I am also fascinated by something else. How a very simple hand sign, easy to make, made in a certain time and place, can be immediately understood by others. You do it, and the eyes around you know exactly what you mean, as if they could read your body, as they would read a text. Doing a simple gesture is not that simple. It always creates an echo. This project is a reflection of the repetition of history. That's what I try to express in the text written on the back of the postcards. How the way we move and use our body collectively and produce signs do not come from nowhere. They are full of references from religion, popular culture, art, history, historical events, signs made in the past. The text on the back are just as important as the images on the front, because they unfold this information. That's why in exhibition, I always show one backside in English and one other on the language of the country where the exhibition takes place. A last thing, the silent slogan set is shared free of charge. Visitors can take postal cards during an exhibition, or I can send them by email if someone asks me to do it. I see myself as someone who gather and rearrange existing materials, nothing more. And these materials are gestures made in public space, images from internet, signs that already exist. Here my work as an artist is to collect, to move, and to bring together what already belongs, perhaps, to all of us, as a kind of common property. So now I'm going to talk about an experience I organized in a group of teenagers, for a public school in the countryside in the east of France. The project is called Forum. I brought together people who, at first sight, had little chance to meet or exchange. So young people living in the mountains and adults from different fields, backgrounds, and countries. The idea was to encourage non-hierarchical relationships and open topics of discussion. The idea was simply to talk as freely as possible for 2 hours, sitting together on a circular platform. I had no expectation concerning the subject of the conversation. Here, one of the challenges was helping the adults understand what they didn't have to lead, that they didn't have to lead the conversation. Another one was encouraging the teenagers not thinking about how the adult might judge them while speaking. Not to say what adults expect to hear as they usually do at school. I asked them to speak as they would do with their own friends, to say what they really think, not what they think adults want them to say. So in a way, I asked them to forget their usual social reflex, the one that come from always being part of an adult-teenager dynamic. So this experience actually was already a kind of performance. I didn't take part in the conversations. I stay outside of the forum circle. My role here was to organize the invitations and to create what I could call a certain kind of atmosphere. So upstream the conversation session, I asked myself, how could I record the time spent together? I mean the relationships formed, the knowledge shared, the sensitivity and memories exchanged. It was not just about words, it was also about everything else two people use and exchange when they meet. So how can I materialize what is not verbalized in dialogue? How can we make visible what moves within us when we are side by side? I tried to imagine an alternative way to record relationships, knowledge, and sensitivity, to create an archive that captures the present moment between people. I covered the wooden platform where the encounters took place with copper. And the copper plates recorded through the body of the participants what was happening between them. So no alphabet here, no words, no voices, but still a kind of writing system was at work. The traces of oxidation on the copper surface became meaningful signs. The only thing the participants had to do to record and transmit their time together was simply to be here, fully present. So at the end of the meeting sessions, very cute. At the end of the meeting sessions, I installed several permanent wall pieces inside the school. Their design, made with the oxidate copper plate, was inspired by the metal cladding typical of the architecture of this French region, Les Vosges. I just show you some images, or not. This moment of encounters were also a film set. I made a 33-minute film called 13 Years Present. I observed the shared place, the ease of some, the courage of others who push themselves to speak, while others listened quietly and observed. These roles, taken spontaneously, became central, both to the subject's conversation and to the film itself. Enjoying 13 years of presence in this world, they remind us that sometimes speaking says nothing. Two stories of people their age whose voice were ignored meet in the film. Both have tried to make their realities exist through words without finding an audience. One of them was a boy who suffered harassment at school and took recently his own life at the age of 13. The group I work with expressed empathy and anger toward the adult who did not listen to him. The second story was that of Naël, the teenager who was shot by a policeman while driving in the Parisian suburb a couple of days ago. The French media spoke widely about this murder in June 2023 and about the young demonstrators, their age, who went out at night to express their anger and sadness. Some of my teenagers felt fear. They called them sauvages. So here we have two situations of young people suffering, asking to be heard, and no one listening. From here, violence becomes the only vocabulary they can find. Violence toward their own body, violence toward the public space. The film, 13 Years Present, suggests that if words can be action, as one say in philosophy, silence also acts. It also creates realities and have consequences. So the last work I will introduce today is a typeface called La Marseillaise. It's a reference both to one of the major cities in the south of France, and to the French national anthem. In 2020, a group of teachers invited me to collaborate with them in their school as part of a public commission. I will not go into detail of that commission. It's a complex one, and we will need another hour to do that. But to explain you briefly, they asked me to find a way to highlight and give values to the languages that their students spoke at their home. These languages included Twi, Pacho, Arabic, Urdu, Serbian, Kurdish, Bambara, Soninke, Korean, Portuguese, and so on, and many more. I collected 40 languages known and used by students, and yet completely invisible at school. It's a common thought to say that languages as a form is a form of richness, but not all languages are valued equally. And the 250 students I work with over 2 years in Marseille knew that deeply from experiences. I created 5 art pieces. And one of them is this typeface, La Marseillaise. So here it's a sentence using this typography, and you can read la traduction, c'est l'immigration des langues. So translation is the immigration of languages. And this typography works with the sound we use in French. So it's called phoneme. There is 37 phonemes in the French language, and for each sound, each phoneme, I find a sign in one of the languages of the student who is pronounced exactly the same way. And for this, I worked I developed this project in collaboration with 2 wonderful type and graphic designers, Soyun Bey, who will talk after me, and Federico Barras Barrios, who helped me to develop the concept, to draw, code, and work on this typeface. As I'm running after the time, I just show you the last images. So with the child, we made some posters, educational booklets. I translate the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. And the wool of the school, the stamp, we made stencil, and an artist book. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Marianne Mispelaëre.